80 hours with Hogwarts Legacy, and we've barely scratched the surface. Grab your wands, hoist those broomsticks, because we've got a lot to talk about. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, let's dive in to Hogwarts Legacy. Before we can even begin, we need to pause and thank Warner Bros. Entertainment, Avalanche Software, and the development team over at Portkey Games for providing us with an early opportunity to step foot into Hogwarts Legacy. It's an amazing opportunity that we don't take lightly, and it was truly an honor to be amongst a handful of other creators with early access. When I say Hogwarts Legacy is a labor of love, I truly mean it. This game is through and through a magical experience top to bottom, and few other games offer this level of world building and immersion. To be fair, the team has some great source material to work with, but so did a handful of other Harry Potter-inspired games that came before. I think it's safe to say this team has finally cracked the code. Now, don't get me wrong, are there things that could be improved? Sure, and we'll touch on those. But the overall experience is nothing short of magical, a full-on fan service to the leagues of witches and wizards who have been waiting for this game for decades. We say this having played over 80 hours, nearly non-stop since we were granted access. There's still so much more to discover and explore within the game, and it took everything in us just to sit down and write this video because the urge to keep playing is real. Now, I want to be transparent. Have we beat the game? No, and that's okay. Open world experiences are a whole different beast, but with the time we did play, I can confidently say we saw a majority of the content, poked and prodded at all the major systems, and really explored where the game is at its best and when it drops the ball. With that preamble behind us, let's break it all down. Hogwarts Legacy has a lot to set up. We're in the 1890s, a completely different time period from the books and movies. We have new characters, new stories, and even some new locations to get accustomed to. The team introduces a lot, but we're instantly ushered into the mystery, and we're hooked on the magic from the very beginning. Arriving as a fifth year, we have a lot to catch up on. New spells to learn, professors and students to befriend, and a whole castle filled with secrets to explore. Our first dozen or so hours of playtime, we felt were just spent exploring and getting lost in Hogwarts. Every door, and I do mean every door, opens and leads you somewhere new that you're just not quite sure if you've seen before. The world building we're woven into is just breadcrumb after breadcrumb. Before you realize it, you're so far removed from your original objective, you're not sure if you even care about it anymore. Once you choose your house, you'll be placed in your common room. While these aren't major hubs or constant destinations throughout the game, it's an essential starting point. Knowing that, the team still put an insane amount of work into every detail, which kept me in the common room for longer than I'd like to admit, exploring every minor detail of things that were intentionally placed purely for my enjoyment as a player. That's a thread that continues to be woven throughout the entire experience. We're left simply basking in the feeling of being in the wizarding world, enjoying what's been crafted for us. Every painting, every statue, every texture is purposely built to wrap the player in that true Hogwarts experience. Once you decide to actually work through some progression, bits of story are tactfully sewn in to give us just enough information to complete our next task and create that thread of mystery to entice you forward to that next objective. We're also given plenty of choices and freedoms to complete things on our own terms. Complete a major story moment? Great, you can now go unlock new spells via side assignments. Or go explore and begin tapping into the expansive Flu network, the fast travel system within the game. The choice is yours, and we were very pleased with the amount of flexibility we had to control our own destiny. Hogwarts feels like a never-ending maze. I don't know if I'll ever truly feel like I know where I'm going, but after constantly running through its halls, things begin to feel familiar. Every door opens and leads you to a new room or path or maze-like corridor with secrets to explore. No painting is left untouched, and everything seems intentional. Don't feel bad if you stop a dozen or so times on your first day just to soak it all in. You might even consider taking the time to explore the castle in its entirety, unlocking every Flu point so you can easily navigate the grounds when you're ready to tackle some content. Once you start engaging with your class curriculum, the game picks up, and it's a great experience. I wasn't quite sure how the team would deliver this part of the adventure, but I was glad these ended up being essential quests. They were the perfect bite-sized experiences, only delivering what you needed in that moment, and didn't drag out the sequence, leaving you sitting through filler content. The team also threw in various mini-games within the class setting to help you immediately use and become familiar with your newfound spell. Nothing felt like busy work or non-important, and it all lent itself to me feeling like a more powerful wizard. Tied to the class structure were side quests that the professors occasionally assigned. While not essential at first, many are tied directly to unlocking further story progression, and some are downright mandatory in order to access some secrets within the world. But let me be clear, nothing ever felt like a chore. I've said that a few times now. I wanted to unlock that next spell so I could be ready for whatever the game threw at me. Sprinkled throughout the rest of the castle are countless collectibles, a whole slew of additional side quests, and so much more content to keep me busy for hours on end. Nothing about the experience left me disappointed. The castle feels alive with students, congregating in nearly every room, playfully experimenting with new spells or planning out their next adventure. While not the true life cycle experience other massive games have promised, it hardly matters. No matter what part of the world you're running through, magic is just abundant, and the constant chatter and small actions of NPCs around the player help bring all of that to life. That experience never waned either. As you start to leave the castle more often, you'll only come to appreciate returning that much more. Much like a college student returning to their small hometown after being away for months, Hogwarts felt like home, and that's largely in part to how lived in it feels. As you progress, you'll venture out of the castle and quickly gain access to exploring the world on your broom. And I'll admit, flying was something I was a bit worried about going into the game. I thought the system would feel clunky or awkward, but that's not the case. Is there a small learning curve? Sure, but being able to travel around the majority of the world from 100 feet above adds a whole new perspective to the experience. Let's not fool ourselves. There's nothing overly intricate about flying, but it's an important experience the developers deliver on. Now, Quidditch, that's another story. Hopefully something we'll be able to talk about in the future. Of course, we're not going to spoil all of the different locations within the game, but I will say the concept of a living, breathing world can be felt throughout every corner of the game. From the shops in Hogsmeade to the gardens of even the smallest hamlets, the world changes around the player and leaves a lasting impression on you as time seemingly moves everything forward. Add in the game's day-night cycles and incredible season changes, and it's a recipe for success that kept us coming back time and time again. No game, not even ones with this much world building, can get by on looks alone. When the chips are down, a beautiful world is only part of the experience. Hogwarts Legacy is an RPG after all, and that means the journey from fledgling 5th year to powerful wizard able to control ancient magic needs to be fulfilling. We commonly think of leveling as the driving force behind progression. However, I rarely caught myself ever thinking about that or even looking at my character's level. I was so focused on exploring and experiencing everything around me, the XP just flowed in, and as a result, I ended up actually over-leveled. I never ran into my character's level being the reason I couldn't progress, and I've got to be honest, that felt incredible. Now don't get me wrong, you are gated on progression at times by level, but it's usually only one of the factors. Often progression is tied to meeting a small list of requirements before you can continue your adventures. Levels are an aspect of progression, it's just one that seems to have little impact, and I'm not sure it will ever really get in the way of anyone's time within the world. What is more important to your progression are the spells and the skills you have at your disposal. Simply put, the team absolutely nailed this experience. This is hands down one of the most satisfying systems within the game, and the team has effectively set the bar for how magic works in a traditional RPG. Is it a completely groundbreaking system, magic the likes of which we've never experienced? I wouldn't go that far, but in terms of being able to control magic like a boss, the team hits this one out of the park. Every spell feels impactful, and each talent point that augments that spell is meaningful. None of the spells feel like filler, and your ability to use them all on a regular basis is quite satisfying. Be it in combat, solving puzzles, moving throughout the environment, or simply causing a little chaos. Now, the talent points change up the spell's function in a meaningful way, adding things like an AoE to one of your fire spells, or increasing the range of your all-important Revelio utility spell. Each one gives you something tangible to try out in the game and augments your abilities, which is a great feeling in a system we truly loved interacting with. If spells are the highlight, then gear definitely falls much further down that ladder. Gear in and of itself, including gear stats, the trait system, and the overall feeling of meaningful gearing, just isn't satisfying. It's a simple system, let's just put it that way. Our character is built around 3 basic stats: health, offense, and defense, and the gear itself only works to amplify either offense and or defense. For any of you build crafters out there, this is an aspect of the game that might fall a bit flat. Even on the hardest difficulty, something we chose to tackle on one of our playthroughs, gear was a factor, but not a noticeable one. There is a trait system, and those traits can be added to gear to buff your damage output or decrease damage taken, but almost all traits in the game boil down to very minor and arguably unknown and unimportant passive changes. I'll admit it's just not something we can gush over. It's functional, but clearly not the focal point of the game. The real reason this doesn't matter is because gear plays second fiddle to the cosmetic system, which is a huge part of the Hogwarts Legacy experience. Just about every activity will reward you with cosmetic items in some variety. A lot of the more desired looks will of course be locked behind challenges, progression, and collections. The team goes above and beyond here, ensuring players have plenty of choice and probably one of the most accessible transmog systems we've ever experienced in a game. From the moment you get a piece of gear, you can hop into the menus, find that exact item now as an appearance, and change up your look. There's no system to unlock, no prerequisite, no cost associated with transmog, just a system that wants players to embrace whatever look they want at any time. Hogwarts Legacy is so much more than spells and gear. That's just one aspect of a massive game, and as we pivot to talking about something else, I want to be honest with you all. I was not particularly looking forward to the Room of Requirement. Now, I've never been one for player housing, especially if it didn't have any real game-changing effects. I figured we'd be forced to sit through context menus and long instruction sets just to get started, but thankfully, that's not the case. I'm happy to say my expectations have been completely shattered, and the team manages to masterfully guide players through each important subsystem and option. You're introduced to the Room of Requirement through Deputy Headmistress Weasley. Not really a story spoiler since we've known that well ahead of launch. Professor Weasley fulfills her role as your Hogwarts guide, instructing you through each aspect of the room. This is a hands-on, learn-by-doing approach, and one that I was incredibly thankful for. Everything you see within the Room of Requirement is customizable. Want a gothic look? Done. Enjoy a more botanical vibe? Snap your fingers and make it happen. Deke, the house elf, will even modify the room's lighting should you want to bring this all together. It's incredible the amount of customization we're given here as players, and as you explore and gain cosmetic rewards during your adventures, this just adds more options to an already enticing feature. The great thing is, there's function to this room, and that spoke to players like me who really enjoy that intersection of function and form. The Room of Requirement allows you to become more self-sufficient in a variety of ways. The numerous potting stations will be your home for any number of magical plants that you can utilize in combat or as ingredients. The potion stations will, well, brew potions. You'll also have access to a variety of stations to supplement your crafting materials, to increase yield, or to produce certain materials for building out even more stations. We love this system. It's simple, yet fully functional. It provides just the right amount of customization while not also demanding perfect optimization. It's accessible for casual players, but also important for more serious players that want to squeeze every drop of performance out of their experience. It's a super forgiving and always rewarding system that caters to a majority of the player base. If we venture past our now fully customized Room of Requirement and step into the awe-inspiring Beast Vivarium, an entirely new experience awaits us. This comes with the magical knapsack made famous in the Fantastic Beasts series, and it allows players to catch and transport beasts from the open world back to the Vivarium. This area just offers another layer of customization. Like the Room of Requirement, you're free to adjust pretty much everything. Add statues, buildings, trees, rocks, you name it. This space is yours to do with as you wish to make it more comfortable for you and the magical creatures under your care. As their primary caretaker, you'll need to keep your magical creatures happy. They need food, love, and some playtime. If you manage to keep them satisfied, they'll kindly reward you with their unique material, items you'll need to use in other areas of the game, mainly gear upgrades and applying traits at your loom in the Room of Requirement. We're given access to a few stations to help ease the burden of beast care, ranging from auto feeders to breeding stations. This is a casual fan's dream system, and I'm happy to say our time spent inside the Vivarium was super enjoyable. And although much of the experience can be automated, we still spent a decent amount of time manually interacting with the many creatures in our care. It's just fun, plain and simple, even down to each toy in the toy box being a preferred item for a specific beast. You could see the joy in the face of a mooncalf as you pulled out the moon ball, and I caught myself sitting back like a proud parent watching them on screen enjoying their new toy. Simple and immersive systems like this truly elevate the gaming experience, creating something so accessible yet still wildly satisfying. It's hard not to gush over Hogwarts Legacy. I know a fair number of people out there were thinking the game would flop, and I'm confident after 80 hours with the game that Hogwarts Legacy is going to cement itself in the history books. The game is a massive achievement on so many different levels, and from the world building to the combat, it nails nearly everything, creating a wizarding world experience the likes of which we have never seen in a video game before. We highly recommend Hogwarts Legacy to absolutely anyone looking for that spark of magic. The crazy thing is, I think this is just the beginning. Portkey Games was established to develop a AAA Harry Potter experience, and with the commercial success I know is coming for Hogwarts Legacy, I have a feeling this is just the start of something magical. Anyways, friends, I hope you enjoyed our thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy after 80 hours with the game. As always, if you want to learn more about great games at launch, all you need to do is drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll have tons more Hogwarts Legacy content coming out in the weeks and months ahead, and we'd love to have you along for the ride. I also want to invite you to join the Legacy gaming community on Discord. We recently reworked our entire server, so if you're looking for a place to hang out, win free prizes, talk about great games like Hogwarts Legacy, and group up with friends, check out the link in the description below. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.